Good morning, everybody. Hi, this is fun. um, so here we are. My name is Vincent Hannum, and I am coming to you live from my office in my home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So what the heck is going on here? Well, I'm trying something new. Um, this is just me, no performance. Not my Mischief Tales page, just me. And this is called Some Civil War Poetry. And it is a series I want to try out for the next over a month, where I read some Civil War poetry. So, how do we get here? Uh, well, I love history first and foremost. I call it my second passion after theater. I'm a local theater artist, actor, and playwright predominantly. But in lieu of the pandemic, and theater not really happening too much right now, I'm just trying to find some other creative outlets that kind of feed my soul a little bit, and especially in light of other recent events with George Floyd and the unrests. How can I do something meaningful, something that can, I don't know, in my own way, if not for anyone else out there, but for me to just kind of try to make sense of what's going on. And I always turn to history when I got to make sense of things. I like to think that yes, history repeats itself, but also for me to understand what's happening now, I have to put it in context. And the only way for me to put it in context is to look at what came before and literally see that line that connects antebellum America, Civil War America, Reconstruction America to today, because that line is as clear as day. And it's been enormously eye-opening for me to go back through my books, through videos, and find that line, because it's there, buried under this much of sand. Just there it is. And it's been fascinating. And before I start the series, before I start having some fun, I just feel like I just kind of got to give it the reverence it deserves. The Civil War is something that is a topic that I have always loved. But now I 100% acknowledge and admit and recognize that love and enjoyment comes from a very specific, privileged, white male point of view. When I grew up in Florida, lived there 23 years, traveled throughout the South. So yeah, Civil War battlefields and monuments, Confederate and Union, were everywhere. Confederate flags were everywhere. And from my very specific privileged point of view, those were just fun to see. Like, oh yeah, look at that giant Confederate flag just billowing over the highway. Neat. That's history. That's a Southern heritage. There it is. It's history alive. And that is just so privileged, right? Because I'm not Black. I was never enslaved. I never fought against people who tore my family apart. And that, until I can put myself in those shoes, lifelong struggle that will continue forever for me and the country at large. How could I ever look at a flag that way? Or like a statue of I'll say it, Robert E. Lee. As much good as he had, he rebelled against the United States of America. It's like, okay, yeah, Vincent, doy. You don't have that luxury anymore to have such a narrow perspective of the war. So with that in mind, we're going to be reading poetry and hopefully cracking some jokes. But the first episode, I just want to make it clear that I treat the American Civil War, I don't treat it as just a trivial, fun topic anymore. I've taken off the rose-colored glasses. It was one of the most destructive, it was the most destructive thing in this country's history, where enslaved people were the focus, were the center point. Amazing how that kind of gets glossed over a little bit. So I do want to say that the war was about slavery. You could say it was for states' rights, but it was for the state's right to own slavery. I want to say that Black Lives Matter. I want to say that Confederate statues belong in a museum. And I want to say some of the things that are on my little cue card here. I'm not an expert on the Civil War. I'm just a history buff. I am also not an expert on poetry. We're going to read some poems that I literally have never read before. This is a fun mug. When I visited a battlefield and celebrated the 150 years. All right, shifting gears. So the book we're going to pull from is called Poetry of the Civil War. It is a book I have rarely cracked open. I got it for Christmas a few years ago. And, look at that. 2016. Merry Christmas. From my mom. That's sweet. So anyways, I saw it on my shelf and I was like, hey, poetry takes a couple minutes to read. Why don't I just do that? Be my little series. It's edited by John Boyes, and it is divided into two parts. First part is The Blue, so poems written by Union authors and presumably people who are espousing a very federal unionist point of view. And then the second half is called The Gray, so the opposite, people, Southern sympathizers, Confederate authors. I'm not here to judge their writing or anything. There's some really good names in here. Emily Dickinson, Walt Whitman, Holmes, a lot of others that I don't know. So that's also part of this. I would love discussion and feedback on not just the history, but the poetry itself and the authors themselves. I think there's some really interesting stuff in here. So each morning I'll read a poem from The Blue and I'll read a poem from The Gray. And just take note of that historical divide where each person is coming from, because that's what's interesting to me about history, not just the great leaders and battles, but what were the average people reading and feeling in their time, because I bet it's a lot similar to what we're feeling in our time. So yeah, should we just get started? That's fun. This is fun. Okay. I'll have one more sip of coffee. A second. So we do want to keep these less than 15 minutes, and we're approaching that mark. All right. The Blues. This is called Word for the Hour by Greenleaf Whittier. The firmament breaks up. In black eclipse, light after light goes out. One evil star, luridly glaring through the smoke of war, as in the dream of the apocalypse, drags others down. Let us not weakly weep, nor rashly threaten. Give us grace to keep our faith in patience. Wherefore should we leap on one hand into fratricidal fight, or on the other yield eternal right? Frame lies of law and good and ill confound. What fear we? Safe on freedom's vantage ground, our feet are planted. Let us there remain in unrevengeful calm, no means untried, which truth can sanction, no just claim denied. The sad spectators of a suicide. They break the links of union. Shall we light the fires of hell to weld anew the chain on that red anvil where each blow is pain? Draw we not even now a freer breath, as from our shoulders falls a load of death, loathsome as that the Tuscan's victim bore when keen with life to a dead horror bound? Why take we up the accursed thing again? Pity, forgive, but urge them back no more, who, drunk with passion, flaunt disunion's rag with its vile reptile blazon. Let us press the golden cluster on our brave old flag in closer union, and, if numbering less, brighter shall shine the stars which still remain. I just want to say that last line again. Let us press the golden cluster on our brave old flag in closer union, and if numbering less, brighter shall shine the stars which still remain. Interesting. It's called A Word for the Hour by Greenleaf Whittier, about 1861, I believe. So now here's a poem from The Gray. I'd also like to point out just real quick that these poems go in chronological order in the time they were written. So the early poems are going to be right before the war. We're going to transition poems into the war, and then decades after the war. So I hope we see some shift in tones from less romantic, rah, to like, holy crap, we're in war, and then sort of the fallout years later. So this one's called Over the River. It is by Jane T.H. Cross. We hail your stripes and lessened stars, as one may hail a neighbor. Now, forward move, no fear of jars, with nothing but free labor. And we will mind our slaves and farm, and never wish you any harm, but greet you over the river. The self-same language do we speak, the same dear words we utter. Then let's not make each other weep, nor against each other mutter, but let each go his separate way, and each will doff his hat and say, I greet you over the river. Our flags, almost the same, unfurl and nod across the border. Ohio's waves between them curl, our stripes a little broader. May yours float out on every breeze, and in our wake traverse all seas. We greet you over the river. We part as friends of years should part, with pleasant words and wishes, and no desire is in our heart for Lincoln's loaves and fishes. Farewell, we wave you from afar. We like you best just where you are, and greet you over the river. That's interesting. Look, we like you just fine, but you keep to your country and we'll keep to ours. And Lincoln can keep his loaves and fishes. Very, very interesting. So yeah, the book is Poetry of the Civil War. We'll be sticking it out here every Monday through Friday, or workday. Monday through Fridays for the foreseeable future. Some poems to get through here. This is some Civil War poetry. Let me know how it goes. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you think this is a good idea and want me to keep going, please encourage me. We'll get through this and see what happens in the future with other topics. But yes, definitely engage. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot. Bye.